Yo, everybody, DK Guillotine here, and we just talked about a very disliked video game horror franchise. Now let's talk about a pretty disliked horror movie franchise. And my opinion on this one is severely different. Today, we are ranking The Purge. This is a franchise that I have always been a big fan of. Despite all the negative things I've ever heard of these movies, I have found nothing but enjoyment with them. I think they're really, really entertaining, really fun, and I am absolutely stoked for the new one and to prepare for the new one, which hopefully will come out this year. I mean, obviously, in light of recent events, there might be a possibility that it might not come out this year. We're going to celebrate The Purge in our own ways, but instead of murdering thousands and thousands of people, we're just gonna rank these 4 really, really entertaining movies. And yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. Coming in at the number 4 spot on this list for me is The Purge Anarchy. Yeah, the one that most people say is the best one is easily my least favorite. This was no contest for me. I actually never really thought this one was all that great compared to the other 3. So, The Purge Anarchy, the thing that I don't like about this movie is that there are other movies in the franchise that do the thing that this movie does so much better. Like, the characters in this movie didn't really care about any of them. Like, the main woman and Leo, of course, who you get in a much better movie later on in the franchise. And then you had the couple that get stranded outside. They were not interesting at all. Didn't care about them whatsoever. You have Leo's little moral dilemma that he's going on where he wants to go after this guy who wronged him in the past. And I think he like killed his son or something in like a car accident. And yeah, it's just like the characters are just not that great. Leo is great, played by I forget his name, Frank something. He's fucking Crossbones from the Captain America movies. But he is really, really good. He's definitely the best character in this movie, and he's really cool in this movie, but I just think you get a far better movie with him in it later on in the franchise. So for me, The Purge Anarchy is the weakest one, and a couple other things I never really cared about for this movie is there's this really weird and it feels like really shoehorned plot where they all go to this woman's friend's house to seek shelter, and then out of nowhere, like a fucking violent act breaks out, and her like sister-in-law shoots his uncle or something like that, or his, I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched this one. He like shoots one of them, like the brother-in-law or something like that, and it's because she was like cheating on him apparently, and she wanted to take vengeance on him in The Purge, and it just felt so shoehorned. Like I didn't care about it whatsoever. None of the characters were really interesting at all to me. For me, The Purge Anarchy doesn't really deliver that most of the other ones deliver on. It's still entertaining enough that I would give it a pass. I'd say it's like a 6 out of 10. And there is a really phenomenal scene where the characters are kind of put in this like auction, and they're like hunted by the rich people, and they kind of flip the switch on them. Leo's like, oh, fuck this. Fucking takes one of them out and fucking just guns them all down. Really badass scene. Definitely my favorite scene in here, but it always was my least favorite. So, number 4, The Purge Anarchy. Coming in at the number 3 spot on this list is the most recent movie, The First Purge. In my opinion, this one is really entertaining because of the action and the characters. The action in this movie is great. The action in this movie might be the best choreographed action in the entire franchise. There's this one incredible action scene where the main character, Dimitri, is in this corridor, this hallway, with like 3 like SWAT team looking dudes, basically. Like, they're armored to the teeth and they got assault rifles. And this dude is in this little like box like with them. Like, there's like 3 of them in him, and he takes every single one of them out. And the way it's shot, you wouldn't doubt it for even a second. Like, he like ducks back and forth, and he like kicks him into the door and shit. It is an absolutely amazing action scene, and you do get a lot of action scenes throughout this entire movie that are just very competently shot and very entertaining. Very cool. The characters are great too. You have the girl who's protesting against the Purge, the Staten Island experiment as it's called in this particular movie. Dimitri, of course, is this like drug dealer dude that is kind of like a big kingpin, and obviously, it's hard to sympathize with a character like that, but they do their best. Yeah, the Skeletor guy, which has a really interesting place in this movie that I don't want to spoil because I don't want to spoil the ending. But overall, I think this is quite a fun movie. I find a lot of enjoyment with it. It's well acted, and the action is definitely the strongest part about this one. I definitely think the action is its best in this particular movie because, man, the action is just great in this one. Story is good. I do like the idea of how they kind of went about doing the first Purge, the Staten Island experiment, which if you don't know, basically it's this experiment where they're trying, because America is in just fucking a really bad place, so they do this and they pay people like $5,000 to partake in the experiment, and I thought it was a cool way to do the first Purge. So I like this movie. I think it's cool. I would give this one like a 7 out of 10, but definitely not quite as good as these last two, because last two I think are absolutely awesome, but still a really cool movie that I do like. So that is number 3, The First Purge. Coming in at the number 2 spot on this list is the original The Purge. This one is so... I do not understand why this movie is so disliked, because yes, there is a very big argument to be had with this movie with why would they take this concept of making crime legal for one day, which is such an interesting and unique premise, never really seen before with a horror movie, and instead just confine it into this one home invasion movie. But for me, it worked. I really liked this movie because I really liked the characters. Ethan Hawke and Lena Headey are absolutely awesome in this movie. Their kids are a little much, especially the boyfriend guy who, once again, kind of like the Purge Anarchy, it just feels like it was shoehorned in there, but the boyfriend guy pulls a gun out on her father. It just feels like it was really shoehorned in there. It wasn't really fleshed out at all, which is definitely one of the weaknesses I have about it. But obviously this movie is really, it deals a lot with classism and also a little bit of racism as well. And it's really great because these characters, of course, if you've seen the movie, you know that this poor gentleman is stuck outside, and his daughter sees it and lets him in, or his son lets him in, and he hides in the house, and that's how the Purgers actually come to his door. They want to get the poor person out of there, and they originally are going to turn him over, but they decide not to at the last minute, and that kind of stuff. It's really cool way to portray like how fucked up what they're doing is, and how like racism and classism and whatnot, and how fucking horrible the two are. And in my opinion, it's pretty good. I honestly quite like it. And then of course there is the big twist at the end of the movie, which I don't think is like the strongest thing about the franchise for sure, but it does work for me. I do like it. I do think that the Purgers in the movie are a little bit more compelling of villains than the of course, if you've seen the movie, you know the twist. Basically, I will throw a spoiler warning out there real quick for people who don't know the twist, but the neighbors turn out to be really mad at them because they kind of shoved their wealth in their face and their protection and their security system, and they come in to kill them. So yeah, it's kind of a twist, and I do think that the Purgers were a lot scarier and a lot more effective than the neighbors, but I still like it. I still think it works. I do like the ending when they're all sitting at the table and she kind of goes for the gun one last time. We're gonna play the rest of this night out in motherfucking peace. I like it. And of course, Ethan Hawke's character bites the dust. In my opinion, The Purge is great. I do really like it. I do think it's a good movie, but I will say, of course, that the premise of this movie, while I do think it works as a home invasion movie, it definitely works better as a fully fledged open world kind of movie, which is what the number 1 best Purge movie does best. The Purge Election Year. This movie is fucking awesome. This is, honest to God, one of my favorite horror films of the 2010 to 2020 decade. It is awesome, and I have no idea why people say this is the worst one. Y'all are on fucking codeine or something. This movie is fucking awesome. Like, every single character in this movie is awesome. Every single one of them. Like, going over them, rapid firing the characters. You have Leo, of course, who was awesome in Anarchy, but this time he gets to be in a far better movie with far better characters, and he does everything that he was great at in Anarchy again in this one. Frank Grillo, I remembered his last name now. Frank Grillo is fucking awesome. Then you have Charlie Roan, this amazing character. She is a fucking presidential candidate who is literally standing for nothing but abolishment of the Purge entirely. It is such a unique and interesting premise to take this franchise that is very much a political franchise, and in my opinion, it works in spades. I absolutely loved Charlie Roan's character. She was willing to sacrifice her life in a heartbeat as long as it meant the abolishment of the Purge. She didn't want to cut corners. She was completely against the resistance killing the other candidate who was all for the Purge. She wanted to win this for real, and she actually does. It's absolutely awesome, and the actor they got to portray Charlie Roan is great. Oh, I can't believe I can't remember her name. Fuck, she is absolutely fantastic though. And then of course, if that wasn't enough, there are other characters as well. You had freaking Betty Gabriel as a shotgun-toting badass who drives around in a van and saves people in need on Purge night. So she's a total badass. Then you had this other guy who runs this store, and they kind of fuck him over at the last minute right before the Purge starts. And he's like, well, fuck these people. They're not getting my money. I'm gonna defend this place myself. And he gets a rifle, goes on the top, and just picks people off that fuck with his restaurant. These characters are so awesome, you fall in love with them, and that is something that that Purge Anarchy wishes it could do. Every character in Purge Anarchy wishes it could be as good as the characters in Election Year. And of course, you did have the Resistance that does transition from Anarchy to Election Year, but in my opinion, they were a lot better utilized in this one. And of course, the third act, when they invade the church where this kind of purge ceremony is going on with the other presidential candidate, and it kind of becomes the showdown between the two candidates using that election year. How these two candidates are fighting in two different ways. They are fighting to win, to obviously win as president, and now they're fighting to the death because their restrictions, their safety has been completely removed by the NFFA. And in my opinion, it is just fucking awesome. I absolutely loved the third act where the Resistance invade, they wipe these people out one after another, and like the entire thing with them. One thing I will say though about the third act is the whole, like, it goes on for a very long time. Like, it really should know when to cut it off because there is so many, like, one after another. Like, oh, we got him. Nope, psych. Dude runs in with a shotgun, blows a bunch of people's brains out. And that just keeps going on over and over again. Like, they think they won and then something comes out at the last minute and then they beat it, or maybe it kills someone or it kills a person or two. I don't know. I think the Purge is fucking awesome. The Purge Election Year is fucking awesome. This is easily my favorite. This one's not even a contest. Like I said, like I said, Anarchy I would say is like a 6 out of 10. The first Purge I'd say is like a 7 out of 10. The Purge I'd say is like a 7.5 out of 10. And this one for me is like a 9.5 out of 10. I absolutely love the Purge Election Year. I think it is easily the most entertaining movie in this franchise. And I think it's going to be really hard to top this one for that 5th movie coming out. So there you have it, everybody. That is my ranking of the Purge franchise. We will re-rank this once that 5th movie comes out, and I will obviously, I'm obviously extremely excited for that movie as a big fan of this franchise, if you couldn't tell. But there you go. That is my ranking of the Purge movie. Guys, what is your opinion on the Purge franchise, and what is your ranking for the movies? Do you agree with me that Election Year is the best, or are you one of the people that prefers Anarchy or the first Purge or whatever? Leave your comments down in the comment section down below. I'd love to know. Leave your thoughts on the franchise as a whole, and tell me if you're excited for the 5th movie. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video, and this is DK Guillotine, signing out.